A little something for that blank page in your book right there. This being the rear breather on that 3 horsepower International McCormick-Deering rear breather. Now they all the same there at 1.5, the 3, and the 6. If you took one apart, that's what it looks like. That right there is missing the leather. Probably I should do this just because I have them, but these are original. Oh, that's a 4-bolt one there. That's a Mogul. So I'll take these apart, and then I'm gonna put the springs right over there on the cardboard, and we'll put a ruler on them like that and see how high they are. You know, if you don't have a new old stock spring, then this is the only way you know how long they are, is to have one. And also, see what you think about it. Like this is a worse environment to put a cadmium spring in it. If you go down there at Lowe's and get a spring and put in there, because it's the dissimilar metals. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, it gets you by.
Yeah, but next year when you let that engine sit in there in a cold room all winter, you get out next year, that spring will be corroded every time.
Yeah, and it'll fail.
So, but I wasn't going to do nothing today, but.
Well, how important is that breather to the engine?
Well, that's the reason I'm doing this, is because when you remember when you took that breather off that engine, it had a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
How much you think it had? Like poof on it.
Yeah.
Enough to come all the way out and get onto you.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this? This is that breather that's with the bolts out of it, and it's still stuck together. So you'd have to kind of assume that's an original one.
I would vote it's original.
Up to now. Okay, let's bust it open. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Let's get a close-up on that. Can you see it in the back? Does it show you what you're looking at?
They all ain't like that, is it?
That's it.
I wonder why they did that.
So let's keep that down here. What do you think it is?
Well, I don't know. It ain't right.
I haven't never seen anything like that. You see that X-Acto knife over there? Let me see that. Is it doing it? Huh?
Do you think somebody put it in there?
No.
Or it was a casting flaw?
Well, I'm gonna set it aside and not fool with it. And have some time to think about it. But you can see it had a gasket on it there. It is what I'm looking at. And it's a skinny gasket. It's not enough. 9 times out of 10, the little gasket will be squeeze out and have a little gap in it, and the only thing holding it together is the paint you put on there. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna fool with that thing in there just yet. But as I would see, that's original, don't you think?
I do.
Look, that's really good, the seat and all. Okay. You know what I think that is? I think when they made this here at the foundry, and they casted them, and they were raw castings. So in order to get that sand and stuff off of them, they throw them in a big old round vat thing filled up with some
odd pieces.
Something to knock that away, and I think that's what that is. I think that's one of them. It looked like it was a diamond-shaped thing at one time.
And you think it got wedged up in there and it got looked over?
Yeah, and it looks like it went through the whole machining process, and they machined it off flat, and it was still stuck in there.
So how many of them breathers have you taken apart over the years, you think? Just guess.
Oh, I have 50 of them here now.
And you never found another one of them in
No.
it? Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's something. Okay, how would you rate this piece on rarity?
Well,
the question is to carry on with this thing, and like go for some research on that little thing right there and see does somebody else know about that. It's like a brazen meteor or something in a vibrator tumbler like system they had. But not to be confused.
That right there is what we're talking about. Because it will be confusing. This little thing right here, this piece of metal, ain't supposed to be in there. Or maybe it is.
Well, yeah.
So what about the spring?
that's a showstopper right there. Actually, this is the best one I've taken apart in a long time, because well, down in this part here, in order to cast that seat in there, it should come up from the bottom, and that way you got airflow all the way around. And none of them are. Some of them you have to poke a hole to get any more air out of them. And this one right here is perfect all the way around. This is an oddball twice. See how good that is? And it was clear and open enough.
Where'd it come from?
Oh, I wouldn't know that. But this is the original everything, and here's the spring. And that's the question at hand. Is you see this? Come me on the straight edge, that middle drawer maybe, or this second. This is really important. To get back to the reason for doing it is the crankcase the other day, the day we started it, run about a half an hour, I'm thinking. And it had all that pressure in it, enough to blow out around both side covers, a lot. And you could hear it. And come to find out, this was the problem, that the rear breather was stopped up, not functioning.
Yeah.
So if you put this on there, see it just a little bit of, it's just enough to hold it close. You know what I mean? So this is how long that spring is. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take some more of them apart, and then we'll measure them.
Oh, you can make some of them springs, can't you?
No, I have some already made.
Yeah.
Another one. Well, see, this one right here already was tighter than most, but it also confirms too, assuming that this is original, and it don't have no much paint on it at all, except right there it has some green. So,
but most likely they've never been apart.
no. And I don't think they painted them very good. Oh yeah, I seen some green. Now, and it's a good indication the engine ain't been apart. If we want to have a breather lesson today, wasn't the intent. But interesting nonetheless, and also to see how how many of them survives to what condition. You know, so if you go to a tractor show and you, no, ultrasound, and you looking at the engine sitting there on the floor, if you've taken some of these apart here, you know about what that breather's going to look like on that engine. You know, it won't be no surprise here. But, see, this one has some green paint underneath that square bolt, or beside of it, not underneath it, in the shadow of it. And so does this one. So that means when they painted this thing, it was like that, and that paint gun went shoop. That was it.
Yep.
Rest of it's bare metal. Okay. This is where you find a lot of them. So. Well, same story. You know, looks pretty good. A little deterioration, but normal. And this thing, well, see the springs rusted away.
Gone.
Yeah. And it's enough of it gone to where you don't know how many coils on it. But looking at that little gap down in there, it's only half as much as that last one we took apart. So this thing here is good, but the leather is deteriorated. But the spring is, well, you know, at this point you can only guess how much of it's gone. You know?
What is this, number 3?
Yeah. And I have 2 more. But see, this is painted black. Okay, before I take that apart, look down in that hole down in there. Now, how you going to assess that?
Well, yeah, well, the leather done rotted away and the springs done gave way.
Well,
or maybe it was put together backwards.
Okay, if that had been on someone's engines, which it was, do you think it functioned before we take it all apart and see what the...
No.
You know what I mean?
Ain't no way it functioned the way it was supposed to.
So somebody's had that one apart and fixed it, ain't they?
I think so. That would be my guess. And it's black.
Yeah.
With the little green up under it, I think. Did you see the green?
Yeah.
Under it? Yeah.
It's a repainting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of obvious, I guess. And actually, this is painted red. So yeah, it was green too. Okay, well, we'll compare this one up to the rest of them, and it's still stuck together as it was forever. You know, looks like.
You think it's a repaint?
Yeah, because see, they painted where the gasket goes and there ain't nothing in it. They were using it with nothing inside, which is better than to have it stopped up. It just, you know, interesting.
Yep.
And as it has a bigger opening down there.
Mm-hmm. You gonna let Trollus them?
Yeah. But this right here, you know, I would use it if it was the only one I had, but it has the seat rusted away. So, you know, do you get another one or do you fix it?
Well, couldn't you just put that down on a piece of sandpaper and rub it back and forth enough to get down there probably?
No, it's quite a bit.
Oh, is it?
But once you get it electrolyzed and cleaned, you actually can jig it up over in a mill.
Oh, yeah.
And you could melt the whole thing, or the outside and all that, you know. Well, So see, it had paint on the threads, which is a giveaway that it's been apart. You know, it was tough the whole way. Are we recording?
Yep.
Okay. And this is the one we was fooling with there that has the spring in this part right here. It has the spring up in there. Oh, it's not going to have no flapper in there, is it?
Flapper's gone. Or it's on the other side of the spring.
You think somebody put that spring in there as a deterrent from a bug going up in there?
No.
Because it's wedged in there. I don't think it could have got in there without some assistance. Huh? What do you think? Yeah, it's good and clean, ready to use. So, and that's the spring that was in there, and it looks like original, don't it?
And it looks like a good one.
So whoever had it apart saved this, and maybe the other part was rusted away, or they lost it or something.
Well, they definitely had it apart.
Or maybe they left it out and put this in there as the screen, so a bug couldn't go up in there, but yet they didn't want it to be a vacuum in it. You know, they wanted it to be pretty open. Same as drilling a hole in the John Deere case.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good one.
It's still stuck together. It's busted open. Looks real good. That part. And you can tell the engine ran recently because it's all wet and moist and used. The poppet valve is completely deteriorated to the point that there's nothing left except the leather center. So this was metal onto that top. And here's the spring that's in there. So we're going to compare it. It is the whole reasoning. We ended up with 3 of these that'll have to be reconditioned. Them poppets right there. Not to be confused, the only thing we're doing is measuring rear breather springs. And this is the one that was in question. This is the one we took out of that one there. This is the one we took out of that one over there. Okay? And the other one was deteriorated, 1/2 gone. The only reason this would be any benefit is you could take a micrometer and see what size wire that spring is wound on and count the coils and come up with a reasonable idea of the original spring. But I was up there in Portland, up there at Tri-State. Dave and Shannon, and I think his son was with them that day, come by with a care package for me. And these 2 blocks right here were in that care package. They're the same size. I'm not sure what size they are just yet. But I'm going to use them as a height gauge for y'all to see right there. As we put the straight edge across there and rake it forward and see the length of them springs. Okay? And to not to confuse you as no kind of shell game, I just wanted to pair them up as a comparison with the straight edge down there at the bottom. So as you can see, the 2 on the end Actually, this is the short one. Shortest of the bunch in that height right there. So with me being here on site and looking at them like that way, and you all taking my word for it, I would say with great degree of certainty that that spring should be the average height of those springs. If you're watching this video and it's any benefit to you, pass it on to a friend. I'm just saying. But to bring memory to you is I had to go over these breathers some time back as a question in a comment here on a video. You may refer to that if you would be concerned of this. But these were left over from that project. So with that in mind, okay, we've got a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 springs right here in a row out of these rear breathers. So, you know, with that amount of statistics, you know what I mean, you got something to go on when you're working with them numbers. Keep it in mind, we got what, 7 in a row, same gauge blocks with a straight edge, and you come across through there, and they are a average, those springs are a total average of the 7 to be 1 inch long. Write that down in that blank page in your book. The spring in question to confirm the reason for this whole foray off into these springs is this spring right here that was in that breather that caused that excessive back pressure on that engine. It was this spring. And it's, well, it's like 1 1/8 inches. So the reason for this whole complete explanation is to confirm and tell you about it, that these springs right here are quite important to an engine. That object right there, before I take a chisel or anything to it and actually find out what it is, I'm going to leave it in there for show and tell as to an explanation of what that is. You know, is that tumbling media to clean this when it was in the factory, when it was in the foundry, and then when it went over to the factory, that was wedged in there, and they just machined the whole thing apart, the media and the casting? Leave a comment.